And there you have it. The markets are officially closed on this Wednesday, October 1st. Welcome, investors and traders. We have an action-packed half hour for you. Can't wait to get started. But we do have a surprise with two guests that I think you're going to really love. And so just to kind of set the stage, I'm going to encourage those who have any questions about crypto trading, start pumping them into the comment field down there. I already see some activity there as I'm looking at Colin, and we got Absurd Nerd in the house. Very interesting. But as usual, I'm going to pass it off to Nod from NODLive. He provides our NODLive feed. And when you see Nod there, there'll be a scan code next to his image there that you could enroll in the free 15-day trial. And it's a very dynamic news feed, unlike anything you may have seen before. And you're getting all kinds of news from every news feed that we subscribe to here at StickyTrades. So, Nod, why don't you take it away, and then we'll bring on our guests. Go right ahead.
I appreciate that, AJ. Boy, I thought you were going to let the cat out of the bag early, but let me get going before we do. Hey, listen, welcome everybody again. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy life to join us live or on replay. We do appreciate it. So much to go over, but AJ, it's something about this Wednesday time slot. 2 weeks ago, it was NVIDIA's earnings. Last week, it was on the heels of the Fed rate cut, and today we're on day one of a government shutdown. So people are gunning for this time slot. But did you know that per the S&P, a 1 week government shutdown will reduce growth by 10 to 15 basis points? That may not sound like a lot, but it will be material if this snowballs. Remember, we're going into a long holiday weekend, so this thing's not going to open until at least Monday. So hold on to your hats tightly. That's also why historically gold and silver close at highs or trading at highs right now. And overnight they pin those as well. There's a lot of uncertainty. People are flocking to good places, and we'll see where it goes from here. But AJ's call, and he's been all over gold and silver for a long time. Hope you all have too. Also, welcome to October. Historically, one of the more volatile months. Events that have taken place in October were Lehman's collapse in October of 2008 and Black Monday in October of 1987. Keeping it dark, the U.S. now has the highest debt service cost globally, which is now 13% of what the government spends things on. So, for example, we are going to spend $882 billion this year alone on servicing our debt. And in 2026, which is just 3 months away, we're going to spend $1 trillion just alone on our interest on our debt alone. Earlier today, ADP let out their private jobs report, and it showed the companies shed 32,000 jobs, which is the biggest drop since March of 2023. Now, I was going to go into non-farm payroll, but I don't think that's going to happen on Friday. That's going to leave a big hole for the Fed to backfill, and I don't know what they're going to lean on for their October meeting. So the final bit was, with all the hoopla going on, AJ, Bitcoin did jump quite a bit on this weak jobs data and the prospect of a lot of uncertainty. So I'll hand it back to you for a little bit of news, and we'll get this thing going.
Yeah, you gave me some chills there when you talked about October 1987. That brings up some pretty bad memories. But fortunately, and a lot of people know my story because I make that public, especially I wrote about my biggest losses in my most popular book, which is the 5 Points for Trading Success. 1987 was the year that I took the big hit. And that's where the 1% rule came from for managing risk. It was in 1988 that I swore that I would never take a hit like that again, and I haven't since. And while you take individual losses on trades, you're not opening yourself up to a catastrophic hit if the market decides to take money from you. And if you allow the market to take money from you, I promise you it will. Now, not just talking about Bitcoin before we bring on the Bitcoin experts here. Looking at Bitcoin now, I have an upside target here on my chart at 126,259. It's already hit my downside target here. And all of the upside targets that I've established over the past year have hit. There's 2 open targets to the downside that may or may not hit, but they're certainly not going to hit anytime soon. But we have a very good, strong average using the charts for setting price targets on Bitcoin. And I think that's the great setup here as we start to talk about cryptocurrency. We're going to bring on 2 experts. I'll let Nod read their bios. But before we do that, I will tell you that there are very little fundamental analysis ideas or reports that you're going to get on crypto as a whole. Now you know what the whales do, you know what the holdings are, you know what MSTR and Michael Saylor is doing with Bitcoin. But most of the traders that I know who are trading Bitcoin are following the technical charts. And I find that the technical signals work even better in crypto than they do in equities, because in equities, like for instance, yesterday, Nike came out with earnings. Yeah, I'll pull this one up here. Nike came out with earnings. That stock gapped up this morning, but look at that candle. For anyone that's following technical analysis, you'll know that's a hanging man, a very tall hanging man at that. And so if you get any kind of a drop in volume, and I'm just talking technicals here, you get any kind of a drop in volume after a setup like this in the candles, that's the chart's telling you you better protect your profits, or maybe even take some profits off the table. So let me pass it back to Nod so we could do the quick bio read, and we're going to mix it up. Now, I'm watching the live chat here. So if you have any ticker symbols, any crypto questions that you want, start putting them in there, and we'll be sure to cover as many as we can in the remaining 24 minutes. So go ahead, Nod.
Thank you, AJ. Well, listen, everyone who's here and on the recording, I'm proud to announce that we are adding a cryptocurrency arm to the StickyTrades.com family. We're going to call it the Crypex room, and I'm going to bring on two of my former colleagues and now current colleagues. I've worked with these guys before. I am very proud of their integrity. They're great in the space, and they are experts in the space. First being Matt Montemayor. I had the privilege of working with him prior. He spent his time. He had a decade of experience in the cryptocurrency space. He's got a computer science background. He and I worked together at a cryptocurrency hedge fund. He was a leading indicator for a lot of the trades that we ended up putting on. He's very sharp in this space. He's very well spoken. He knows this stuff. He's going to be a tremendous asset to our team and to our members. And also CJ Reichel. He's a professional futures trader and a cryptocurrency investor. He does a lot of personal commentary. He also was at the tip of the spear for the cryptocurrency hedge fund that we worked at. CJ is a tremendous technical person. He's a chartist. I know he and AJ share a lot of the same views in looking at charts. So again, when you add these two to the StickyTrades.com team, we're just that much better, and we now fill a giant void in the cryptocurrency space. So gentlemen, I'm really proud to have you here, proud to have you as colleagues again. Welcome.
Yeah, welcome, guys. And I love the name Cryptex. We'll have a Cryptex room eventually where we have a small group of dedicated traders that'll be coming in and out of positions. But I want to throw the first question out to CJ, because CJ, I know that you're a technician at heart and you follow the technical signals. If you could more or less expand on what I originally mentioned about how well the technicals work for trading, and maybe even throw out some signals that you look for that are more of the high probability trade setups. What can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. I'd love to go into some charts with you guys. First, I'd like to say, Nod, thank you for that intro. Very kind. And I'm really honored to be part of this panel and to be joining the Sticky Trades team. I know Matt and I are very excited about the new service that we're going to be launching for you guys. And, we hope to take a lot of the principles that AJ has brought to you guys, the 7-point trading checklist, the 1% rule, and then apply those to ultimately fields of innovation that we've been looking at and studying for quite a long time. But to your point, Monty, or AJ rather, we got a lot of
we have a lot of Montes.
There's a lot of Montes. I'm the only non-Monty here.
Yeah, people don't know this, but Matt, his nickname is Monty. His last name's shortened more or less. So we have a lot of Montes in the house here. But don't worry about mixing that up. I'm sure it's not going to be the only time. But yeah, go ahead, Matt. You've got a lot of background in the research side of it, so you two are the dynamic duo of Cryptex for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Nod, for the great introduction. And like CJ said, I'm super excited to be part of the Sticky Trades team. I've been following you guys for a while on YouTube, and like CJ said, a lot of the trading strategies that we apply every day are things that we see you applying in your trading. And like you said, the technicals apply to Bitcoin as well, if not better than any other asset class out there. So there's a lot to talk about. I'm looking forward to diving into it today. I'm going to talk a little bit more about kind of why I'm excited for October and how this is all kind of serendipitous timing for the crypto room launch. But first, I know CJ has some technicals that he really wants to dive into. So
Yeah,
CJ,
if you got charts, CJ, throw them up there. We love charts, and our audience. So look at this. We got Ralph Patterson already throwing out 3 ticker symbols out there for you. Ralph, we'll get to that in a moment. Let's have CJ talk about some of his favorite ones to trade. Go ahead.
All right, let's jump in then.
Yeah. What kind of chart time frame do you like to use?
Daily.
You like daily? Okay.
Weekly is good too to kind of get an overall feel, but in terms of trading decisions, daily for sure.
Yeah, go ahead. I see you got a lot of indicators down there too. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is a textbook example of the 7-point trading checklist because I was going through this weekend and creating a lot of educational content that we're going to launch with and ultimately provide to you guys. But this was a really textbook example coming up on Solana over the weekend. Just starting with a few of the factors here that we look for, we saw a bullish engulfing candle on moderate volume coming from, really happening at the bottom of that downtrend with a pretty significant divergence from the 20-day moving average. So those are 2 checkpoints already hit. We also had that 190 level that was previously acting as support that now that we had that bullish engulfing candle, that support is now holding, and perhaps we'll get some more mean reversion back to the 20-period moving average. And then also we had our oscillators, the CCI and the stochastic, providing buy signals on Saturday. So that's when I decided to take a long in Bitcoin as well as Solana because a lot of those technicals were really lining up. And although there are some news events that are interesting, there are not earnings in the crypto industry. So obviously that helps the technicals a little bit. So let's take a look at where Solana is right now. And as you can see on my chart and trading view right here, we have had that mean reversion back to the 220 target and maybe 225 as we approach the 20-day moving average. But interestingly, Bitcoin had some very bullish engulfing candles over the previous few weeks. If we look, we can see we still have high bullish volume. The oscillators are not yet extended, but that's when I will ultimately look to take some profit on this trade is once we start seeing some declining volume, maybe some stale green lights, as well as some sell signals in the oscillators overall. So that's what I'll be looking at in terms of Bitcoin. And then the one thing, kind of the nuance between crypto and the difference between equities is gaps, right? We don't have gaps traditionally in crypto. However, we have ETFs now. So if we look at the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF IBIT, we can see on our gaps indicator that a lot of the upside targets have been hit, but we still have one at about 68.5. So that's a little intro to some of the trade setups and things that we ultimately will be putting out on a weekly basis. And, if that's something that you're interested in and you like getting those setups, we're going to be sharing those on a weekly basis. And not only focusing on crypto too, we're going to be focused on a lot of innovation industries, things like robotics, obviously AI and uranium have been really big lately. But ultimately it comes to applying those principles of technical analysis and risk management and finding high growth opportunities in emerging industries. So,
Matt, I recall last time we were on a webinar together, you were giving a lot of reports on the whales in Bitcoin. Explain to the folks that maybe are not so familiar with the crypto market what a whale is and why it's important to watch what they're doing.
Yeah, so the whales in many ways are kind of the smart money in the crypto space. So when you take the whales and you look at their on-chain volume, which is something that you can do on a service like Glassnode, it's something that CJ and I do often, and we'll be happy to elaborate on this more once we have our own crypto room going. But one thing that you can tell from whale volume is kind of a general idea of whether or not people are investing in Bitcoin or altcoins. And one thing that I look at in particular is the Bitcoin dominance chart. And I'll actually pull that up right now. And this is a really good indicator for exactly how much of the current total crypto market cap is comprised of Bitcoin at any one given time. And as you can see, we're starting to turn up here. The volume doesn't too much matter on this. This is more of kind of like an index to just watch. But when you see this kind of bottoming out of Bitcoin dominance, and also this has been in conjunction with whales buying Bitcoin. CJ pointed out the strong technicals, but the fundamentals are there as well. If we take a look at the month of October in general, Nod shared this with me. Thank you for sharing this, Nod. But this is a very striking chart here. You can see that October has been an overwhelmingly green month for crypto. And I think that this month will be no different. And my reason for believing that is, one, we're seeing whales buying in here at around 110,000 to 117,000. Strong volume continuing into the end of day here. And then also, kind of from CJ did a great job breaking down the technicals. I want to briefly talk about the fundamentals. The government shutdown, I think, could be a big positive catalyst for crypto. Obviously, you guys know all about gold and silver. If you're following AJ, you probably are positioned pretty well in these. But if you're looking for an ulterior investment to gold, silver, or any other precious metals, I think Bitcoin is a great option here. And we have a nice target here at the previous swing high. It's not like gold, not quite at an all-time high yet, but I think that we are working our way there. And by the end of October, I expect us to hit this price target of about $123,000. So,
well, Matt, with the government shutdown, what's the main reason why that would be beneficial? And then I have a follow-up to that with regard to stablecoin, because Nod and I have been talking about the possibilities of what that could look like next July, perhaps, when they decide to do anything with that. But why would that be bullish for the crypto market?
Yeah, well, at its core, if you go back all the way to the beginning, all the way back to 2010, Bitcoin has kind of been trying to establish itself as an anti-establishment currency. And in many ways, when we see a flight from equities, when we see a flight from the dollar, it tends to flow into these store of values. And Bitcoin is most definitely a store of value. Some people compare it to digital gold. I think that's an apt comparison because of the supply similarities in Bitcoin and gold. And I think that with the government shutting down for the next week and what's expected to be a rather tough week for equities, we could see a lot of people moving some of their assets over into Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. So CJ mentioned Solana. Yeah. So I expect to see a lot of capital inflowing. I'm going to be watching Bitcoin dominance closely, watching the whales closely to see exactly how much buying we have going on here. But you can see that Solana on various occasions has tested this line of support and continued to bounce higher. I saw some questions about Sol in the chat, so I just wanted to quickly agree with CJ that this one's hitting all the points in the checklist right now. And I think that the upside target of reaching previous swing highs is something that could be achieved in the next couple of weeks here. So
that's exciting. That's exciting. Yeah. Now, what comments you have coming in from our viewers with regard to crypto? Any ticker symbols in there?
Yeah, our loyal viewer Ralph is looking for BMNR and ETH. Guys, if you can just take a swing at that, please, that'd be a big help.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll take BMNR first, and then we'll look at ETH. We could go back and forth then, because you're going to find this very interesting. If you have analysts that are looking at a technical chart and they're all agreeing one way or the other, I think there's a good chance that it's going to go in the direction that we're seeing the signals. However, when you're looking at this one, it's fairly new. We came out with an explosive move here from, Mir was at around $4.50. And 5 days later, it's trading 160. I mean, that's insane price volatility there. But as you can see over time, it's more or less calmed down. But it's to me, it looks like it's in a cycle more or less. You see the rounding bottoms here, and I've had the opportunity to analyze this since July. And so far, we've got 100% hit rate on our targets. For those that are joining us for the first time, you see these diagonal lines here. Those are my target lines. So when we do a rapid fire analysis session on Wednesday from 6 to 7, our audience gives us the ticker symbols, and then I analyze them. So you can see these were left over from those rapid fire webinars, and you can see the end of the line of the targets, and it hasn't taken that much time. Now from here, I mean, it's a little interesting because, you know, we're looking at a more or less a bearish candle right here, but the oscillators are kind of neutral. I would think you're going to get I'll do a forecast on this one, stick my neck out here, Bitmine immersion, right? So I think it could pull back just a little bit. And I'm going more bullish, obviously, to the upside here because of what Matt's telling me about October. I got to love that right there, right? So I'm putting a downside target of 51.32. Then I think after the bounces off that moving average, we could get that one on the launch pad up to 57.76. Would you agree with that, CJ, or not? I mean, you may not see my technical charts, but what do you think on BMNR?
Yeah, I can see it, and I do agree. And one thing that I would add to this in terms of the fundamentals is this company is that they're a digital asset acquisition company or digital asset treasury company acquiring Ethereum and Bitcoin. So definitely should have some type of correlation to those underlying assets.
Now, Nod, what are you seeing from your NODLive feed that more or less covers or backs up or even confirms what we're talking about here with regard to the Bitcoin market, maybe even stablecoin, how we could work that into the conversation here and how that might affect Bitcoin as a whole? How could that affect the stablecoin introduction? How would that affect the Bitcoin market? What do you think, Nod?
Well, from the news point, I mean, I had this talk with Matt and CJ, I think about 3 years ago. The biggest thing for me was adoption and recognition. And I think the word regulation rubs some people the wrong way. I tend to be of the field where regulation is validation. And finally, you know, some of the groups, some of the entities are looking to regulate the space. So that seems to be the hot button right now. Who's going to lead that? What's it going to be classified as? Is Bitcoin a currency? Is it an asset? Is it a commodity? So that will depend on which regulator oversees it, which I also think will spill into how stable coins are structured and recognized and used. So Matt and CJ, I mean, I know we've had this talk before, but what would you guys say now with regards to adoption, recognition, and application?
I would say that the stablecoin adoption is somewhat inevitable. I think companies like Circle are very interesting. However, that market could get saturated. I also do think there's somewhat of a separation between the stablecoin market and Bitcoin market because Bitcoin is not necessarily, it's not like a currency in my opinion. I think at this point in time, it's more of the M2 liquidity trade, similar to gold and silver. So I see it more as digital gold as opposed to a transactional currency. But I think it's undoubted at this point that the banking industry is and will continue to adopt stablecoin usage.
You know, CJ, going back to Ralph's ticker symbol there, you want to pick up $ETH on your what platform are you guys using? Are you using TradingView, or
that's right?
Yeah, is that your main go-to charting platform, or you have multiple charts that you look at?
Yeah, TradingView is. It's one of the newer ones. We love it. And I could tell you right now, without even looking at the chart, you know, the BlackRock Ethereum ETF, ETHA, as well as, you know, the other Bitcoin Ethereum ETFs, they still have gaps above the market. We still have the oscillators that are about midway through, but they're not looking overextended yet. So I wouldn't be chasing right now if I was not in a trade. But if I was holding, I would just be looking for that upside gap fill target.
You know, I got to set the stage here once again for the audience. We're not investors here. We're traders. There's a big difference where we're looking at a chart, looking at the I guess you could say the mini trends within the larger trends, and we're getting in, we're getting out based on the technical signals. So if you're interested in trading, not necessarily investing, this is going to be more your type of environment here, because we put communities of people together, and we have the webinars, we have the trading rooms. It's going to be really interesting as we unfold this. Now, Monty, I call Matt Monty also, even though I'm a Monty. I know it's confusing everyone right now, but Matt, I'll make it easy. Matt, what do you have lined up for the free webinar that you guys are going to be doing, and when will that be?
Yeah, so that's going to be next Friday, October 10th at market close, and you can scan that QR code in the top left of your screen right next to AJ there, and go ahead and sign up and just say you're signing up for the free crypto webinar. And it's going to be a lot more of this, a lot more of, we'll be taking tickers from people. We'll be doing analysis on various assets, talking about stable coins that have potential to outperform Bitcoin and ETH, and just giving our general outlook on the market, as well as doing some educational content and a whole lot more. So we're really looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Our webinars are pretty laid back, and anything that you have question-wise, we're always happy to answer. So it's going to be all about the members and getting their questions answered.
It's gonna 1 hour webinar. Is that what you have lined up for?
Yes,
1
I believe
hour?
so.
Okay. All right. That's really good. Now let's Nod, what do we have going in the comment field? Let's see if we could take the remaining 4.5 minutes and help our audience with ticker symbols here.
Yeah, long timer Dan Lindemeyer. He's looking for a comparison to BTBT, which are green miners, versus BITO, which are the coins. Guys, you want to take a stab at that?
BT, that one? Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'll pull up the chart real quick for BT.
They're all looking pretty good to me. I mean, I'm seeing the pivots higher. BTBT was up 9% today alone. It's a very affordable instrument to be trading. I mean, you're talking $3. I mean, that's not going to break the bank for anyone. But I'm seeing resistance around 4.5. What are you guys seeing?
Yeah, that's the target I have too for this stock. It's something I've actually been trading and looking at the options for. And my target is 450 for this one. I think it has a decent chance of filling that before the end of October because of the reasons I talked about earlier, and because we have seen strong performance out of BT, and other Bitcoin-related companies in the month of October. So I think with people kind of pushing that narrative with the government shutting down, I think we could see some nice price action here. So that's a good ticker to keep an eye on. And I'm right there with you, AJ, with a price target of about 450. Once we hit there, I think that's a good place to start offloading.
Hey, Nod, who was that submitted BTBT?
That was our good friend Dan Lindemeyer, who's been with us forever.
All right, Dan, I'm going to put Nod on the spot. We got to send Dan some swag for that one. And I'll tell you why, because he just expanded my horizons. When Matt said options, I immediately went to the option chain, and I saw a very efficient market there, pretty tight bid-ask spreads as well, even in the front months. So this could be very interesting for the option traders. I'm going to keep this one on my watch list. In fact, what I might have to do is I might have to put a Crypex watch list together on the side of my chart here to keep an eye on that. So what's another ticker? No, we probably get time for one, maybe two more if we really squeeze
a good old favorite is BITO. So, I mean, that was a comparison to BTBT. I mean, that's one we've talked about before. But Matt and CJ, what are you thinking from Mike?
So that is just the straight up Bitcoin ETF, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, but you know what? BTBT, you could buy 6 times as many of those, and it's looking a lot more bullish than BITO. And the option markets are about the same with regard to the bid-ask spreads. But yeah, that looks good. You could trade in and out of this one, I think, in a nice little range, but it's not going like gangbusters, at least not like it did back in November, for sure. But I would say, CJ, if you agree, tell me. I have a support level right around 18.5, just a little bit below 18.5. What do you see as far as risk management there on BITO?
It's something that I would be neutral on. I don't usually trade BITO as an instrument. I trade IBIT, which is the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF, which might look a little bit different in terms of the actual chart. Yeah, so as you can see, that one looks a little bit more bullish in my opinion.
Yeah, good. All right, now one more, and then we're going to go into a wrap. One more. Who's the lucky viewer?
We've got. What about ADA, please? I know that's a smaller coin, but all right. You guys are both smiling. Is there an opinion there?
What's the ticker on that?
ADA Cardano.
Oh, okay. It's not coming up on my platform, so why don't you go ahead and take it from there?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
You
got
pull it up.
Yeah, go ahead, CJ.
Let me just share my screen.
Yeah, this is again a good experience with TradingView here. I haven't looked at that one yet. Might have to.
And while they pull it up, I mean, the Crypex show, you're going to have a live webinar. You're going to get live publications from Matt and CJ. You're going to get market commentary. So It's going to be the full boat, the full Monty, if you will.
No, Nod. He loves a little catchy phrase.
Nod.
The full Monty.
Thank
There we
you.
go. All right, what are we looking at here?
All right, so you guys should be seeing Cardano, otherwise known as ADA, and a lot of these crypto charts look pretty similar. You know, we got some buy setups over the weekend. However, now we are coming into resistance as well as the 20-day moving average. So I wouldn't necessarily be chasing this one, but this did provide a very nice buy setup over the weekend that I definitely would have been looking at, you know, if we were putting out live publications. Yeah. But could continue. You know, if I was long this one, I wouldn't be selling it, but I also would not be chasing it at the current point either.
Well, we'll see if it comes up again next on the Friday you're doing the webinar, and it's going to be an interesting one. I'll be at least listening on that. I'm not going to be participating, but I'll be listening in for sure. Folks, we're right at the bottom of the hour. I want to thank the Crypex team here, and thank Nod too for his NODLive feed. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for liking and sharing and doing all those great things that helps the algorithm get us on the front menu. Be sure to stay tuned to Sticky Trades. We got a lot more coming down the line here, and you're going to be very happy with that. So have a good evening. We'll talk to you next time. So long.